joined Reliance. So a year ago, I joined Reliance as a head of AI. And since then, I have been sort of trying to push the same agenda. Can we do innovative AI work in India? Reliance, the reason is obvious. When you don't have money, you go to the people who have money. So, not a difficult decision. But the other challenges, but hopefully, we will overcome them. And hopefully, whatever the talk is about, I think we will finally get some innovation, the innovation that can make all of us proud as Indians coming out of India. Uh, so, so with this story, right? So first of all, it is a more of an AMA. So please ask questions. Stop me anywhere. There's no certain set agenda. Uh, so now the problem is we all say we are a data-rich country. We are GPU poor but data-rich. We probably generate more than 1 billion WhatsApp messages every day. Like all those good morning messages count, I guess, right? On all those groups, you read them or not, but they count. They are pretty useless, I guess. There are probably tens of millions of minutes of customer care calls every single day in India. I mean, a large fraction of that actually Reliance gets because of their vast range of businesses. With all the diversity of languages that we talk about. But where is that data? Other than maybe some marquee companies, most of the data is not in India. WhatsApp messages are not with us. Email messages, the customer care messages also, most of them, they are not with Indian companies. So while we say we are data rich, but I don't know where the data is actually. In fact, I would challenge Prathosh in that sense, yes, we are not just GPU poor, we are data poor also. We are not use case poor. We have lots of use cases. You go out there, everything is sort of broken and not really nice. I mean, you compare it to any Western country, we are still full of problems. So we are not problem poor. And I think that is the sort of the motivation that can push us further. Because I don't think we can change the reality of we can't stop using the applications that we use. Probably 9 of the 10 applications you use on your phone, they are probably not Indian. The top use, right? I mean, other than Blinkit and Zomato and all those things. They're all WhatsApp, Gmail, Outlook, Instagram, Reddit, all of them, none of them are Indian. But most, the people who are engaging there are all Indians, from India. So that's not going to change. The capitalization issue is not going to change soon. It is a journey, we have to play it along. So only thing that can push us is can the unique use cases, the unique problems that we deal with, that frustrates us every single day, can that push us hard enough to create solutions, which are mathematically grounded, by the way. They are not Jugaad. Not Jugaad. We have to stay away from Jugaad. That doesn't last very long. I mean, that's the reason why our roads are also not as good as any other country's roads, right? Road tech is not like AI tech or anything, right? It's not. It doesn't need a lot of mathematics. Build a nice road. I mean, why is it so dusty? So Jugaad, stay away from Jugaad. So that's my message to you guys. So I think we have the possibility, but we have to aspire to do the best in whatever we do. Having said that, we just imagine that on the positive side, where else will you find people building multilingual models, even if they are fine-tuning, they are not building it from scratch, that work for 20 languages with the background noise in a Mumbai local. There are kids around who are building those models. So it's not all bad in that sense. While those innovations may not be as fundamental as what I am talking about, but those are still innovations. Also, we have to realize what is our strength in addition to having a plethora of problems. We are very good in integrating things. In the positive part of Jugaad is we can integrate things together, right? Whatever given to us, we'll figure it out. It's a jigsaw puzzle, it's a Lego pieces, and we can create things at a massive scale, thanks to our numbers, to do something useful for ourselves or for the world. So I think the key thing is not worry too much about GPU and the capital, but actually work on our reality, our strengths, and use that to motivate us to do things that that can actually become innovation eventually. In many of the cases, if you look at China was not innovative 20 years ago. I mean, they had a different strategy though. They didn't allow Googles of the world to settle there. They created their own companies. And what were they doing? They were just imitating everything that was happening in the West. They were not innovating. They just said, okay, there's no shame in imitating whatever is happening in Bay Area. We'll do that. But that imitation got so good that they are far ahead, I think. If not, I don't think they are just slightly ahead of West now. I mean, the open source models coming out of China are sometimes better than the crazily paid models of the West. Sorry? Exactly. So, so that is a perfect example actually, right? I mean, why will you pay for Cursor or Windsurf, which Google paid $2.4 billion when something else is free or not, almost free at least if you ignore the compute part. So I think so maybe that is the lesson we can learn. Again, we are not China, we can't block these companies, so it doesn't become a necessity for us to innovate. But maybe a middle ground, like so imitation is not bad, but can we push that imitation to an extent that we become the innovators? So that is sort of the journey that I'm leading right now at Reliance, and so the idea of this talk was like, can I share that with you? With that, like, I will open the floor for you to ask me questions. If you don't ask, I'll probably poke you guys, maybe pick on you, and we'll make it more engaging. So, yes, please. How many of you are students, by the way? All of you? Or few of you work? All of you are students? Not here, anywhere? Undergrad, grad? Undergrads? Okay. And others are grad students? Okay. So tell me, what questions do you have? Like, you are in that phase of the, like, actually sometimes I wonder, like, if I was your age, especially the undergrad ones, I mean, that time it was not very difficult decision for me to go for a PhD back then. There was nothing was happening, so at least you can go. But here, 5 years down the line, I don't know what AI will look like, right? I mean, this time I may be the elder brother and say like, will you have a job 5 years later in AI? I don't know, seriously. So what goes in your head? Like, are you excited about it? Does it scare you? What kind of opportunities are you looking at? Please ask questions here.
Hello, thank you for the speech. I have a doubt. Most of the guys get scared before doing startup and all. How do you overcome that fear, and how did you build so many things?
See, I don't know. So do you watch cricket? Like, are you a typical Indian who watches cricket? Do you? Used to? Okay, so if you look at, my simple answer is like, when you look at like how Rishabh Pant plays or how Sehwag used to play, I don't think they think much. I don't think they are solving any PD or any such thing. They don't know whether physics will defy what they are trying to do, but it happens. So I think uh, doing a startup cannot be a calculated move. I think you do a startup because you just can't live without doing it, irrespective of the very high probability that you will fail. You have to also, obviously, there is a context to it. If your financial state or your family state is not very conducive, then obviously you have to take a back seat. That desire has to take a back seat, which is how many of us who come from middle class, lower middle class have to cater to that. Obviously, you can't ignore that. But once that your basic needs are taken care of, I think it has to be a craze. Don't do it because you will get rich. It may happen, but I think very bad motivation to do a startup. We hear about the success stories, but we don't hear about the failure stories. Although I was just joking with Pratosh and Pratik that in my case, my first startup was not as popular as my second failure. In fact, India Today covered it, and then everyone knew it. And that's how I got hired by Reliance, because Mr. Ambani saw it, and he's like, why don't you come here and we'll do whatever you want to do. So failure sometimes also help you at least get to the next stage of your journey. So not complaining about my failure, but I think do it for the right reason, that you just can't live without it. Otherwise, you will build something that unlike job, you get sucked into it. You can't leave your own startup, even if it is getting boring or irritating. Job, you can leave tomorrow. So it is even worse than actually, divorcing your partner, literally. Because that again is more common than not. But how do you let go of your child? Like, startup is like a child. In my case, the second one was it didn't take off much, but still it was very demotivating for me. Actually, it took me a couple of months to get back. I was literally, I don't know if you call it depression, but I was in that sort of a negative state that I didn't want to do anything. If not for my wife hating me sitting at home, I don't think I would have taken an early retirement. Another reason is like our maid, because she was worried whether she will get paid, because in India, maids still think it's only the male member who earns. So I was at home all the time, so she was probably worried, what is sir doing? And she will gossip about it. So I had to, for Indian societal reasons, I had to get back to work. So jokes apart, but please do it for the right reason. And in my case, I would say just please do it something innovative. Please don't create another delivery app, please. We already have many. I use them every day, like most of us, but come on, like little more innovative.
Thank you for your time and sharing so many insights. What's one of the most crucial problems that you're solving right now at Reliance Jio and that's eating your time?
So, given how I am, like, I think the most crucial problem is changing the DNA of the company, I think. So, although, I can't complain, in this past 1 year, we have come a long way. And the fact that we are also trying to collaborate all the sort of, the hardware, the software companies of the West, that indicates that we are trying to be in the game and not just imitate or, or fall back and, follow later. On the technical side, I think there are just two problems in my head, and they have not changed in past couple of years at least. What is India? How is India different from, say, West, or how Google researchers or OpenAI researchers think? First of all, India is linguistically very diverse. So, when all these models come out, they say we cover 1,000 languages. Yeah, they cover most Indian languages, but that is by default, because the web has some representation of all Indian languages. But you go 5, 6, 7 top, or by top I mean by number of people speaking that, the performance, the efficacy, accuracy is very poor. In fact, when models, ChatGPT came, even the tokenization efficiency was poor, much poorer. It's still the case, but the difference has gone down. But that is the state you are in. So anything we build, if it is not linguistically diverse, if it is not catering to, say, even someone sitting in Meghalaya speaking Garo or Khasi, then where are we? Like we are creating more divides in the country. Already people worry about language and everything. I hope AI doesn't make it worse. In fact, it should combine all of us, that I speak in my mother tongue, you speak in your mother tongue, and we can converse because we are hearing our mother tongues in our ears. So in India, we can't do that. It will actually be worse. It's like UPI. If the UPI was not used by the vegetable vendors and small shop owners, I mean, then it is just a tool of the elites. So I think that is one. Second is, again, Indian reality is, how many people can pay $20 a month for these basic subscriptions? I'm not even talking about pro $200 per month subscription. $20, how many people can pay? People were not even paying it for data. Just remember, till Jio happened, how many people were using data? And you are probably too young, but there were times when people used to give the drivers, the blue-collar workers, the drivers, the maids, they had phones, but they will give missed call to their employers, because that call will take 50 paisa, 1 rupee or 2 rupees. We come from the reality. Just 10 years ago, this is not like 40 years ago reality. 40 years ago, in fact, I didn't even have a landline. Forget about that. So you can't. This $20 is too much. In fact, our focus is, can we get it down to under $20 for a year for almost unlimited usage, not just for chatbot, but anything you do with AI. Because we just can't imagine the last man standing in India paying more than, or somehow directly or indirectly, giving $20 back to that system, which is making them use AI at their will. So if I may still pitch, like, in our case, like when Jio was launched, internally, while I was not there, but I hear these stories, internally the goal was, can we provide 4 hours of free video or very cheap video, 5 rupee per day video to masses in India? Earlier, no one could have imagined that. I think we want to get to the same. Can there be a 4-hour equivalent of AI usage by every Indian at less than 5 rupees a day? That is our goal. Are we there yet? No way. I mean, we are behind most of the people, obviously. But those are the only 2 problems we focus on, nothing else. In that journey, we have some text-to-speech models which are actually for Indic languages, again, focus is India, which are better than most others and more efficient, lower latency. But we are not a lab, we are a product company, so some of them will come out in form of products very, very soon. So I hope I answered that question. Anything else? Please, guys, otherwise I'll poke someone. I'll just, I am also a visiting faculty. I'm not a full-time faculty like Prathosh. So I can just pick on someone without knowing, and then we'll talk. Yes, please.
how many years you think AI will be a very empirical field? I mean, definitely there's a lot of interpretability, a lot of signals as to how to tune models and all. So, but employment comes when actually, if you see, you can hire a lot of people in linear regression team than a CNN team, generally, on a ratio wise. How many years you think it will come that a CNN model or an LSTM model, you can hire a lot of people and parallelize work, and that's where employment generation is, right? So do you have any insights and thoughts on
So
that?
I didn't get that question exactly. So can you
like-
paraphrase it?
A lot of deep learning models are black box models. So there are not a lot of signals to or degrees of freedoms to tune the model. So as the number of degrees of freedoms increases, it's more controllable, more predictable. And also you can hire a lot of people. That's where employment is. Any thoughts on those lines? Have you thought about such things?
I don't know whether that that thought process will lead to a lot more employment, because the problem is like a lot of those directions that you're talking about. I think you can place a RL loop on top of it and you sort of kill many of those directions early on. That itself will become a reinforcement learning problem, right? I mean, you don't brute force. I mean, that's how research works. See, likes of Pratosh, every day he will get 10 ideas. I don't think he pursues all of them. I mean, and reason is not just not having GPUs. Even if he had GPUs, he will not pursue all of them because it's waste of his time. See, if we were not GPU poor, if we were GPU rich, I think our mental bandwidth is still limited. You can't just say, okay, let me try everything. So same thing will happen here. I don't think that will be the good way of thinking that employment will be generated. I think that you will need fewer and fewer researchers, maybe many people who are running experiments, but not the right direction to sort of think of employment generation. That's unlikely in my mind. I may be wrong, but unlikely. As far as interpretability goes, I think it is always a difficult question. You know, when we go and see a doctor, I mean, we just trust the process, right? That doctor has MBBS, MD, whatever. I mean, they may turn out to be total, who doesn't know much and they are just fooling you around. It's possible. It happens with all of us. But we still trust the process. When you sit in a plane, it's a bad time to talk about it, given whatever is going on media, but you trust the process, right? I think at some point we'll start trusting the models. Because the problem with interpretability is like experts should feel that these models are safe. I don't think it will get to a stage where every individual with very limited skill set or understanding of the science or maths behind it needs to interpret it. Experts need to understand, obviously, so that they can validate that this is safe to use. Whatever that safe means, even that defining that is very difficult. It happens with every new technology, I think, right? I mean, there are people who are saying this can give power to bad guys, right? I mean, that's true with nuclear power also. I mean, you can create electricity and do nasty things. Same thing, I mean, with knife itself, like, I don't know when it was invented. AI is no difference, I think. Like even this Pahalgam attack, I don't know how many of you read those reports that these bad guys apparently got access to the satellite imagery from some company in US. So they were not sending their people to Pahalgam, but they were actually looking at satellite imagery to figure out how they will escape. So do you blame the technology for it? I don't know. I mean, probably no, right? I mean, there are so many good things happen because of that. So yes, some companies getting more careful about when they give access to such satellite imagery, who is asking for it, what is the reason. Maybe you can have guardrails there, but I think, again, don't be too hung up on interpretability. Safety of models is important. Interpretability is less important in my mind. It's sometimes as I think, like I hope it is not recorded and you don't put it online. I think it has become a sort of a job for many guys, because it will never be solved. So it is like a cottage industry of research. You can keep doing it; it will never be done. Even SVM, SVM is interpretable, but most people don't understand it anyway. How does it matter? Still, you will go to Pratosh and ask whether this model is doing what it was supposed to. So what's the point of being interpretable? He can figure out it in LLMs also, right? So I think it is a cottage industry of researchers. Please don't put it online if you're recording it, because a lot of my researcher friends will be very unhappy. Yes, anyone else? No? All of you are too sleepy, too worried about your results? Ajay, okay, please, yeah. So I'll ask something, and I'll just, if you don't raise your hand, and I'll just pick someone. And my apologies, like, it is fun. I am on the stage, you are not, so I can do that. Suppose you had like what I just said, right? Suppose you had all the GPU in the world. Suppose AMD just became so happy with you and they gave all the GPUs you need. So you never have, there's no constraint of GPUs. What will you do with it? Suppose it happens today. What will you do starting tomorrow? Anyone? You have your hand raised, please. Pratik, on the back side there. I can barely see his face. He is totally in the sleepy zone.
If that happened today, I will train 1.8 crore data of all Supreme Court, High Court judgments into that model. I'll name it as AI advocate model.
But do you need that much?
That much may not be required, but we need to be trained on different open source model, and we need to exercise their internal data as well. So for that purpose, we may be required that. And I don't think so. All the AMD GPUs we required, but some of the GPUs.
I think order of tens will be enough. May not be even that. I mean, seriously, so it's a very. I think you should consider other sources of getting that GPU power, because it is not as far-fetched. My bigger problem, like knowing India well, and I was probably by the virtue of age probably lived here longer.